Okay, so we got this article about DJ Kulet and wow, some seriously disturbing allegations against her husband. Oh, his Emmanuel.
Yeah, this is a tough one for sure.
It's tough, and we definitely want to be sensitive to everybody involved.
Yeah.
But it's also super important to understand what's going on here.
Right, and it's a complicated situation too.
That is.
I think what's so striking is how this is all playing out in public.
Yeah.
Like so much of this is happening on social media.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast it's all happening too.
Oh no.
Just to give everybody some background, the info we're looking at here comes from a December 31st, 2024 article in the Premium Times. That's a pretty respected Nigerian newspaper.
Yeah.
And before we get too far into this, I think it's really important to understand how serious these accusations are.
Absolutely.
Against Mr. Emmanuel. He's also known as Benjamin, or you can find him on social media as @HammerSnoop.
Right, and from what I've gathered from the article, DJ Kulet is publicly accusing him of infidelity. And even more serious than that, sexual assault of a minor.
Yeah, the article mentions this video that's gone viral.
Oh, wow.
And it allegedly shows Mr. Emmanuel confessing to the abuse.
Really?
Have you seen this?
I have, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
There's this 13-year-old girl, her name is Favor, and she's in the video.
Oh, God.
And she recounts the alleged abuse, and it's just
awful.
Yeah, it's really brave of her.
Yeah.
She claims that Mr. Emmanuel assaulted her and a friend, Fathia, on multiple occasions.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
What about Mr. Emmanuel? What's his response in the video?
He admits to it.
He does.
Yeah, but then blames the devil for his actions.
That's
It's disturbing.
Yeah, a disturbing response, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a pretty common tactic for people accused of these kinds of horrific crimes.
I guess so.
Just trying to shift the responsibility instead of taking accountability.
Yeah, I can definitely understand why DJ Kulet felt like she had to go public with this. Her statement, although it has been deleted, was a mix of emotions.
Understandably.
What were some of the key things you took away from her statement?
Well, DJ Kulet explained why she decided to make this split public.
Okay.
And she cited this overwhelming evidence that she had of Mr. Emmanuel's infidelity.
Like what?
She claims to have access to all these chats, photos, just a ton of proof.
So even before this, infidelity was a big issue in their relationship.
It sounds like it. But what really pushed her to go public was the alleged abuse.
Right.
Imagine finding out that this has been happening under your own roof for 6 months.
Gosh, that's chilling.
Yeah.
In her statement, she also mentions that the alleged abuse goes beyond Favor and Fathia.
Yeah, that alleged confession video implicates a 20-year-old cousin and her friend
oh my gosh,
as being victims too.
This just keeps getting worse.
It paints a really disturbing picture.
It does.
For sure.
Was there anything else that DJ Kulet revealed in her statement?
She mentions contracting infections multiple times.
Oh, really?
During their 8-month marriage.
Wow.
She seems to be implying a connection to her husband's infidelity.
It sounds like she's trying to protect other people from getting hurt by speaking out, which is...
It's incredibly brave.
It is.
Especially considering how public her life is.
Yeah, and her actions have definitely had a ripple effect already.
Right.
The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, they're also known as the DSVA.
Right.
They've come out and condemned the alleged abuse.
Yeah.
Which is good to see.
It is.
How did they respond? Exactly.
They put out a statement on X, the social media platform, expressing their condemnation.
Okay.
And emphasizing that Lagos State has a zero-tolerance policy for violence. And they've reached out to DJ Kulet directly.
Okay.
And they're asking the public for any information they might have.
It sounds like they're taking these accusations seriously.
They are.
Which is reassuring.
Yeah, it's good to know that these organizations are out there, to provide support in situations like this.
Yeah. So to kind of recap what we have here, we have these extremely serious accusations against Mr. Emmanuel.
Right.
We have DJ Kulet's very powerful public statement.
Right.
And the DSVA stepping in to investigate.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to the heart of this whole deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to explore some of the deeper implications of this case.
Sounds good.
We've got a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it does feel like everyone's watching this play out, especially with all the reactions online.
Totally. It's interesting how social media can be such a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
In this situation, there's so much support for DJ Kulet and the victims, and people want justice.
Right, that makes sense. But, social media can be a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's easy for, misinformation to spread.
Yeah, and speculation, too.
Exactly.
It can be dangerous, but it does seem like the public outcry in this case has pushed authorities to take action.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
That's true. The DSVA's response is a good example of that.
Totally. It shows they're listening and they're actually doing something.
Yeah.
But I think beyond those immediate responses, there are some bigger conversations that this case has brought up.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that.
Okay.
What are people saying?
Well, one of the biggest topics is forgiveness.
Okay.
Especially since DJ Kulet initially forgave her husband for the infidelity.
Right.
And then the abuse came to light.
Yeah, it's like, where do you draw the line between forgiveness and enabling harmful behavior?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
It is.
It's really complicated. I think personal forgiveness is one thing.
Okay.
It's an individual's journey.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that someone shouldn't be held accountable.
Right. It's an important distinction.
It is.
Forgiving someone personally doesn't mean that you're saying their actions are okay.
Exactly.
Or that they shouldn't face consequences.
Exactly. And this case also highlights how important it is to talk about child sexual abuse.
Yeah.
It's a topic that people avoid, and that just makes it harder for victims to speak up.
That's so true. We need to create safe spaces to have these conversations.
Yes.
But also be careful about the language we use,
For sure.
because words have power.
Yes, language is so important. Using precise language like child sexual abuse instead of like molestation or something
Yeah.
helps us really understand how serious this is.
Right, and it avoids minimizing the victim's experiences.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the power imbalance and calling it what it is.
Exactly, a crime that
Wow.
should never be tolerated.
Right. And this brings us to another important point.
Okay.
We need strong support systems for survivors.
Yeah, it's not just about punishing the abuser.
Right.
It's about helping the victims heal and rebuild their lives.
Yeah, exactly. So what kind of support is available in cases like this?
That's a good question.
Well, organizations like the DSVA are so important.
Okay.
They offer counseling, legal aid,
Okay.
safe houses, other vital services.
Yeah,
There are also hotlines and online resources that can help.
that's good to know so they can get support and guidance.
Right.
It's important for survivors to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And that there is help out there. But this is a problem that requires more than just reacting after something happens.
Absolutely.
How can we prevent abuse from happening in the first place?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
There's no easy answer.
Right.
I think education is key.
Okay.
Teaching kids about body safety
Yeah.
and giving them the tools to speak up.
Empowering children is so important.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
I think we need to challenge cultural norms and power structures that allow this to happen.
That makes sense.
We have to create a society where abuse is just not tolerated
Yeah.
and victims feel safe coming forward.
It's about changing our society to protect the most vulnerable.
Yes, exactly. And, this case,
Yeah.
as tragic as it is, has the potential to really create change.
It does.
It's putting a spotlight on these issues, and hopefully it'll lead to real action.
Before we move on, I just want to acknowledge DJ Kulet and the alleged victims.
Yeah.
It's so brave of them to come forward.
It is. Speaking out about abuse is incredibly difficult,
It is.
and their courage has started this really important conversation.
Yeah, and this deep dive has definitely taken us into some challenging territory.
It has.
But these are conversations we can't shy away from.
Exactly.
This whole case has made me think about the media and how much power they have.
Yeah, definitely.
The way they report on stories like this can really affect how people see things.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
a tough balance they have to strike.
It is.
Reporting accurately and sensitively,
Yeah.
but also avoiding sensationalism.
Right, and protecting the victims.
Exactly.
What are some of the challenges journalists face when they're reporting on child sexual abuse?
Well, one of the biggest ones is using the right language.
Okay.
Language that doesn't reinforce harmful stereotypes or downplay the severity of the abuse. Like, for example, using terms like child pornography
Right.
instead of child sexual abuse material
Yeah.
can actually minimize the abuse and make the victims seem less human.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Language is so powerful.
It is.
The media has to use words that accurately reflect what's happening.
So true. What else should journalists be careful about?
Protecting the identities of the victims is crucial.
Okay.
You can't publish their names or photos or anything that could identify them.
Makes sense, why not?
It could re-traumatize them
Yeah.
and even put them at risk.
Right, their safety and privacy should come first.
Absolutely. And it's also important to avoid sensationalizing the story
Yeah.
or focusing too much on the abuser's perspective.
Right.
The focus should always be on the victims
Yeah.
and what they've been through.
I think the article we've been talking about actually does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, I think so too.
It keeps the attention on the victims
Right.
and avoids sensationalism.
It's proof that responsible journalism is possible,
Yeah, it is.
even with such a difficult topic.
It's a reminder that the media can do good.
For sure.
They can raise awareness,
Yeah.
educate people, and
Yeah.
advocate for change.
Right.
It's about shining a light on these issues,
Absolutely.
flicking the silence,
Yeah.
and making the world safer for kids.
I agree.
So we've talked about the legal side of things,
Right.
how society is responding,
Yeah.
the media's role.
Yeah, but what does all this mean for you?
Honestly, I think this case is a wake-up call for everyone.
Okay.
We all have a responsibility to prevent this from happening
Yeah.
and to support the survivors.
How can we do that?
It starts with awareness.
Okay.
We have to understand the issue,
Right.
recognize the signs,
Okay.
and be willing to speak up if we see something wrong.
You're right. We need to create a culture where this isn't tolerated
Exactly.
and where victims feel safe coming forward.
Yes.
I think we can all do our part.
Whether it's supporting organizations like the DSVA,
Mhm.
educating ourselves, talking
Yeah.
about this issue,
Right.
even small actions can help.
They can.
This case is heartbreaking,
It is.
but it's brought these issues to light.
Yeah. It started some important conversations.
Yeah, and we need to keep those conversations going.
Absolutely. Work towards a world where every child is safe.
This has been a tough deep dive.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
We've covered a lot,
We have.
and it's a lot to process.
If anything we've talked about has been overwhelming or triggering for you,
Yeah,
please remember you're not alone.
there's help out there.
Reach out. There are resources available.
And remember, even small actions make a difference.
They do.
Speak up, educate yourselves, support organizations making a change.
It all adds up.
That's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for having me.